past 11 years of NBA basketball, there have been so many moments in the NBA Finals that we all witnessed. Either we loved, we hated, either our favorite team won, or even lost. Obviously, there's so many moments that when they happen, you won't forget where you were, how you reacted, what you did after, if you were screaming, if you were shocked, if you were crying. There's just so much stuff that goes into the NBA Finals where a lot of people put emotion into it. Obviously, we all know that. But, as you can see by the title, I'll be ranking the past 11 NBA Finals from worst to best. And before I start, I want to get something out the way right now. Every single ring matters. I know there's so many narratives out there of Kevin Durant's rings not counting, LeBron James' rings not counting, but at the end of the day, even if they took the easy way out, however you view it, every ring matters. Yes, this is a ranking video, so some rings are definitely better than others, more respected. Obviously, there are some that are still disrespected to this day and still talked about, so not everything really has to do with how respected the ring is. Really, all that matters for the criteria of this video is how entertaining the finals was, how good the story was, and how important it was. So, without that being said, starting at number 11, the 2018 NBA Finals. Honestly, if you need any explanation why this is last, just look at this finals graphic. Tristan Thompson and Kyle Korver next to LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Stephen Curry. Yeah, this was bad, honestly. But on a more serious note, obviously, as everybody knows, this was a sweep. The Golden State Super Team sweep LeBron James and his Cleveland Cavaliers 4-0. It was not competitive at all. The only competitive game in this whole series was Game 1, where LeBron dropped 51 and still lost. If you need to summarize anything about this series, it's literally that game. At the end of the day, there was really no competitiveness in this matchup. LeBron scored 51, still lost. After that, I think we all knew it was over. The most boring and least competitive series that we've saw in the last 11 years. Obviously, of all time too, probably, because it's up there with probably the Sixers and Lakers series, the Nets and Lakers series. It was just one of those where after Game 1, a lot of people knew what was going on. Kevin Durant showing what he could do again. Went on to win his second Finals MVP. It was a toss-up between him and Curry. Didn't really matter who you gave it to, I feel like. But yeah, nothing much to say about this one. It was a sweep. LeBron's last year in Cleveland. And we're moving on. Coming in at number 10, the 2014 NBA Finals. After coming off of one of the most heartbreaking finals losses in NBA history, the Spurs came into the 2014 NBA Finals just looking to dominate the Heat. And honestly, that's literally what happened. They won the series in 5 games. They only let the Heat win 1 game, which was the most competitive of the series. It was in San Antonio, Game 2. The Heat won by literally only 2 points. And after that, they won by 19 in Game 3, 21 in Game 4, and 17 in Game 5. Ultimately, winning the series in 5 games in a very dominant fashion. Now, the rising star of this whole series was Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard ended up winning Finals MVP and being a big impact for the Spurs this whole series. Kawhi ended the series averaging 18 points, 6 rebounds, and nearly 2 steals a game. Now, I know a lot of people actually don't like this Finals MVP because his numbers weren't really all that, but in reality, he had the 2 biggest games of the Finals. He had 29 points in Game 3 and 20 points and 14 rebounds in Game 4, which they won in Miami, the 2 biggest games of the series. After that, I think a lot of people knew it was over when it was going back to San Antonio, and he was a big factor of that. In a way, the biggest comparison to this Finals MVP for Kawhi Leonard is like Andre Iguodala's in 2015, where they held LeBron James to very low averages, guarding him one-on-one, keeping him at a low efficiency, and having pretty big games throughout the series. I do think Kawhi's is better than Andre Iguodala's though, because his averages were way higher, and he had the 2 biggest games of the series in that series. So something Andre Iguodala can't really do. But like I said, pretty low. A lot of people did enjoy this finals, but honestly, it was short, it was dominating, and not that close. So moving on. And coming in at number 9, the 2017 NBA Finals. Coming off of a heartbreaking loss in 2016, what the Warriors did that offseason going into 2017 was just unfair. I mean, what else can we say? Obviously, they went and got the second best player in the league after going 73-9 and just dominating the rest of the league. Obviously, I feel like all of us knew ever since Kevin Durant went in 2017 that offseason that there was no way that the Warriors were losing to anybody. Obviously, it was true that this was the greatest team ever assembled. 4 All-Stars, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry. Just unfair. So coming into the 2017 NBA Finals, it was the Cavs and Warriors for the third year in a row. But obviously this time, it was way different. The 73-9 Warriors now had Kevin Durant, the second greatest player in the league at the time. So they definitely outweighed the Cavaliers, who were actually way better than they were in 2017. If you remember back, the Cavaliers only lost one game that whole playoff run before they met the Warriors and ultimately lost to them in 5 games. Game 1 was an amazing game, honestly. I remember sitting on my couch with a couple of homies and just being like, damn, this is like an all-star game. And even at the Cavs playing so good, it didn't matter. The Warriors were just that better. After that game, I think a lot of people knew it was over with. It's just a matter of time. How many games will the Cavs win? And they just knew the Warriors just had more artillery. You know, it was just that simple. Obviously, a lot of people discredit this championship. Either if you discredit it or not, it's still a championship. Doesn't matter. But that's why we rank these championships. That's why I'm doing that in this video. And this is a low one because it was just not competitive. It was not fair. The Warriors did something that was unbelievable at the time. And still looking back at it, this was just crazy, you know. It was beautiful basketball. Just the most perfect basketball I think I've ever watched in my life, and that I probably will ever watch again. 4 All-Stars on one team was just unfair for the rest of the league. Once again, the Warriors won this one in 5 games. The Cavaliers' only win this game was in Game 4, which was by a win of 21. Game 1, the Warriors won by 22. Game 2, they won by 19. Game 3, they only won by 5. And Game 5, they only won by 9 because the Cavaliers, started just making shots that really didn't matter. The Warriors were already celebrating. Once again, Kevin Durant winning his first Finals MVP, showing that he really wanted that first championship. 35 points a game, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, absolutely dominating, the best player on the court. That's something you can't take away from him. Now to cap off this review, just one of the most cold-blooded shots that I've ever saw in my life. Kevin Durant shot in Game 3. Too good to leave off of here. And we're moving on.
Incredible opportunity. Durant for 3. It's good. Kevin Durant from downtown. And Golden State takes the lead. Ball right there. Kevin Durant, though, so gifted. Comes down and just pulls up and knocks it in. But at the other end, they had to get the 2 for 1. And then...
Now coming in at number 8, the 2020 NBA Finals. One of, if not the most weird final series ever. No fans, no real atmosphere, just 5-on-5 basketball where players honestly played the hardest, and it's either honestly that you loved it or you hated it. Now, of course, at the time of this recording, this is the most recent NBA Finals to date, happening about 3 months ago now at the time of this recording, so yeah, it's still fresh in our minds, and the Lakers won this one in 6 games against the Miami Heat, who had a crazy run in that playoffs. Obviously, it was kind of a product of the bubble. A lot of crazy stuff was happening in the bubble. Players were playing out of their minds. TJ Warren, Jamal Murray broke out. Jimmy Butler was on another level. And yeah, this Heat team was, in my opinion, the most complete team in the league. Obviously, that Game 5, he absolutely carried the Miami Heat to force a Game 6. And in Game 6, the Lakers just dominated. From the beginning of the game to the end of the game. They only ended up winning by, I believe, like 13. But at one point in that game, I believe they were up almost like 40 or something like that. I forgot. But yeah, it was not a bad finals at all. It's just that it wasn't as competitive, which I think a lot of people knew wasn't going to be like that. I think a lot of people expected this one to end in 5 games, but Jimmy Butler being Jimmy Butler, dropping 35, 12, and 11 in Game 5, outdueling LeBron. LeBron also had a great game that game, but as we all know, at the end of that game, he passed the ball to Danny Green. Danny Green missed it, and then one of the Morris brothers just threw away the game. But yeah, it was a pretty decent series, nothing crazy here. LeBron gets his 4th NBA championship. Anthony Davis gets his first, so big accomplishments there, my bad. And yeah, pretty good series. LeBron Finals MVP, averaging 30 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists. Damn near averaging a triple-double, but we all know LeBron could do that. And yeah, that's really it for this series. Nothing crazy, like I said. 2 pretty good teams. It's just one was way better than the other. And of course, before I finish this review, obviously a lot of people put an asterisk on this title. Personally, of course, I don't. It's still an NBA title, like I said at the beginning of the video. It's just in different conditions. Yes, no fans, no real atmosphere. Does have a lot to do with this being low, but at the end of the day, it wasn't as bad as the ones that I ranked below this, so you can have your own opinion on this, honestly. But coming in at number 7, the 2015 NBA Finals. Now trust me, before I start this one, I know a lot of people will probably have this one lower than the 2020 NBA Finals, based off the fact that I think we all knew the Warriors were going to win this one. No, it was not a super team, so it's not their fault. They just played who was in front of them. It just so happened that LeBron lost his 2-star teammates in the playoffs that year. Kevin Love, who literally got his shoulder torn out by fucking Kelly Olynyk, and Kyrie Irving, who actually got injured in that Game 1 of the Finals. So it wasn't their fault, but because of that, you got to bring this one a little bit lower. But it still wasn't a bad series. It ended up going 6 games, and LeBron, being LeBron, still did what he had to do. He won 2 games against the Warriors, averaging 36 points a game, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists. Meanwhile, on the other side, first-time MVP Stephen Curry, he averaged 26, 5, and 6, leading the Warriors to their first NBA title in 40 years. Now, as we all know, at the end of the day, Andre Iguodala ended up winning Finals MVP. Probably one of the worst Finals MVP winners ever. No disrespect to him, obviously. He definitely did have a big impact that series, and in some way, deserved it. Now, I would argue that Steph Curry deserved it, but that's just not what happened. So, Iggy won it. But just to justify why Andre Iguodala was so impactful during this series, just look at these 2 graphics. I feel like this is really all that needs to be explained. Go ahead and pause the video if you want. Personally, the craziest thing about this series that a lot of people don't realize is the fact that Iggy received 7 first place votes for Finals MVP. Meanwhile, LeBron came in second with 4. I believe this is the closest anybody else has gotten to being on the losing team and still winning Finals MVP. The only time that has ever been done in NBA history was Jerry West in the first ever NBA Finals ever. So this would have been a crazy feat for LeBron. Like I said earlier, he did go crazy in this series. He averaged 36, 13, and 9, and he just did everything he can. It just wasn't enough. Now, I don't know if he really deserved it, because I like the idea of whoever is on the winning team deserves to win it, so I do get why the NBA didn't go with him at the same time. Also, it would have definitely caused a lot of controversy, so I see why. Another thing that was also a little crazy to me is that Stephen Curry didn't receive a single first place vote, even though he still had a great series. His efficiency wasn't the greatest, but his team still won, so I do think he did deserve a vote, at least one. Like, damn, kind of crazy. But yeah, like I said, the Warriors finished this one off in 6 games. Even if you see this as a lower tier because the Cavs weren't healthy, it was still a pretty entertaining final series. LeBron still had to do what he had to do. He still won 6 games, which when this should have been like a 5-4 game series, because his second best player was Timofey Mozgov. And the Cavs without LeBron that series were terrible. They were literally horrible. I don't know. I forgot the stats to it, but you can look it up yourself if you want. And yeah, the Warriors win this one in 6 games. It was a start to something crazy in Golden State. And I guess as a good thing you could see this as, at least it wasn't 4 All-Stars on the team. Yeah. But anyways, we're moving on. And coming in on number 6, the final spot of this video, the 2012 NBA Finals. Now right away, a lot of people look at this series and think it was dominated by the Heat because it was only 5 games. The Thunder won game 1 by 11 because they pulled away late in the fourth. After that, the Heat won game 2 by 4, won game 3 by 6, and also won game 4 by 6. It wasn't until the third quarter of game 5 where the Heat outscored the Thunder 36-22 and finally pulled away, winning their first ring of the Big Three era. Of course, this was the first time we would see LeBron and KD face off in the finals, and of course it didn't fail to disappoint, because why would it? They're the 2 greatest players of their generation, and that's just that. LeBron averaged 29, 10, and 7, winning Finals MVP, while Kevin Durant averaged 30, 6, and 2 in his first Finals appearance of his career. The Thunder came in as favorites, but the Heat once again won in 5, and LeBron would actually just get his first ring of his career, along with his first Finals MVP. At the end of the day, this is one of the most honestly underrated finals of the past decade, in my opinion. Mostly because we got to see Kevin Durant versus LeBron for the first time. The next time we would see it is 5 years after this. It's crazy to think about that, honestly. And the fact that they were on completely 2 different teams, Cavs versus Warriors, obviously. But like I said, a very star-studded finals looking back at it. 6 future Hall of Famers in 1 series. Obviously, James Harden wasn't the greatest player back then, but he's still on that team. And it's crazy to look back at it and see how great those players really are. But that's going to do it. So I'll take y'all to the outro. That's going to do it for today's video, man. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Like I said before, this is the first part of a 2-part series. And the NFL playoffs are getting underway, so once all the seedings are locked in, the playoff matches are locked in, my predictions for the NFL playoffs will be underway. So I don't know when part 2 will come out, probably before that or after that, I don't know yet. But yeah, if you're new, like I said, subscribe to the channel, turn on them post notifications so you can get a notification for part 2. And if you want to follow me anywhere else, my Instagram is @OfficialExavier. Same thing with my TikTok, is @OfficialExavier. And yeah, man, I hope y'all stay tuned to the channel. Make sure you leave a like on the video. If you comment your prediction for my top 5 on the next video, you'll get a shout out at the end of the next video. And yeah, it's gonna do it for today's video, man. I hope y'all enjoyed it. With that being said, I'm out. Peace.